A finite amount of opportunities that present
A
themselves.
lot slower. And it's been a gift.
To stamp moments and memories. And I agree with all of that.
Come down here, go all in on life.
And finish it off, take the
When he
lesson.
kind of changes you. We start our own brew pub, and it was
Don't cut it. Don't you dare cut that.
I've known Lucy for a while, but hearing her story in full like this, man, it hit different. From modeling and bottle service to rubbing shoulders with celebrities, she was deep in that fast-paced lifestyle of the nightlife scene most people only see on Instagram. But what really got me wasn't the Playboy stuff or the glitz and glamour. It was how honest she was about the toll that it all took. The breakdowns, the chasing, the healing. Watching her go from all that chaos to building a whole new identity. It's powerful. Let's get into it. Lucy, welcome to the show. I'm so glad to have you.
Thank you so much. It is such a pleasure to be here. I'm so excited.
You literally just flew in off a flight and you made it here, so I truly appreciate it.
Yes, I landed a couple hours ago, and I couldn't miss the opportunity to be here with you today.
Man, I really wanted to talk to you because, I know you as a friend, and I've heard about some of the things that you've done in business, but we never really got a chance to dive deep into it. So I think this is the perfect moment to see who is Lucy Hislop.
All right. Well, let's go. Bring it.
So what's the origin story? Where are you from? Where'd you grow up? What was your childhood like?
Yeah, so I was born in Costa Rica. However, I wasn't raised in Costa Rica. I was taken out of the country when I was 15 days old.
Oh.
Yeah, so I was a teeny weeny little baby, and I traveled with my mother around. We lived in Panama. We lived in Nicaragua. And then we ended up in Miami by the time I was 6. So I grew up in Miami, raised by a single mother, hairdresser. Pretty much spent most of my childhood really alone because my mom had to work. She worked a lot, and graduated high school. Made an attempt to do the whole college thing, but I didn't go through with it. It really wasn't for me. I got into real estate at 18 years old. At a very young age, I got my real estate license. So I just, started working in real estate and in modeling at a very young age.
Yeah.
And then after that, I can give you a million stories about all the different, businesses that, I got involved with. But real estate stuck for a while, and then 10 years ago I decided to go into the medical industry, and I opened up a surgery center, med spa, and that has become my passion since. Amongst traveling, I do consider myself a wanderlust. I'm a
Well, you started at
adventure.
15 days. It only makes
Yeah,
sense.
at 15 days, I traveled all over. So far I'm at 54 countries.
Okay.
Working on, some more. But yeah, I basically pretty much have always, loved to travel, bounce around, started working, really, really young. 18 is when I got my license, but I really started working at 13 for a marketing company. I used to do telemarketing.
At 13?
At 13 years old, I was in a work ed program in high school.
Yeah.
So I would be able to get out of school a little bit early. So I would go to a telemarketing company and I would call people over the phone and do surveys. And by the time I was 16 years old, I moved out of my house and I lived on my own, had a little studio, and I just have worked, started working at a very young age.
Wow. So true entrepreneur spirit.
Yeah. I can tell you I've sold so many things.
Okay, so when you were living in Miami, that's when you were a realtor there. You were an agent.
Well, I did real estate in Miami, right, from like 18 to 21. And at 21 years old, I opened up my first real estate company.
Okay.
So we initially started focusing on rentals.
Yeah.
And then from there, because I managed a lot of rental properties for investors, a lot of these investors, wanted me to then sell their properties, and then I would help them find properties. So then I got into the wholesale business.
Nice.
And then after that, things shifted over to more the sales commercial side, and then I focused more on just buying properties at the auction, fixing them, reselling them, and yeah.
So that when that was happening, like what did you like you're young, you just got started, obviously
you're in a male dominated industry. How did you find maneuvering that? Was that a challenge for
It
you?
was super easy because it was a male dominated industry. I also said that I did modeling. So I've been lucky, since I was very young to be in, the beauty fashion industry.
Yeah.
So being a young, cute single girl in real estate, I mean, it was really, really easy. I mean, I had my investors eating out of the palm of my hand, to be honest.
Okay, so a little bit different advantage than I had. Okay, I see what you're saying.
I'm going to keep it real.
Yeah. I love it. So then when you were in Playboy, so that's a pretty big magazine,
right?
Amongst others. How did that happen?
So that was a lot of fun. So before I got into Playboy, I got accepted by Maxim magazine. I did the cover for Maxim. And Maxim actually happened because I entered the Maxim Cover Girl contest. Literally, it was just a funny story because I was sitting by myself in my patio having wine. And it was right when the pandemic started. And we all thought, I'm going to die. I don't know what's going to happen next year. And I was like, I want to get back into modeling because I did modeling when I was really young. And then I stopped doing modeling because I focused more in real estate. So for 20 years I had gotten out of the industry, and I was like, there's things in my life that I want to do. And then this ad came up on Instagram, and I'm like by myself on my second bottle of wine, staring at the view, and I'm like, I'm gonna send in a picture. Why not? I can do it. And
let's see what happens.
And 3 days later, I get a message from Maxim, an email saying that I've been accepted into this contest, and the contest starts in a month and a half. And I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, now I gotta be on a diet. I gotta work out. I gotta get pictures. I'm like, trying to figure out how the hell did I get myself into this contest. I'm like, can I drop out of the contest? I'm like, I can't drop out now. My picture's already on the website saying these are going to be our contestants. So I'm like, I got to get my shit together. So, hired trainers, started doing the keto diet and just, complete, literally, working on my body, getting in shape, and, started the contest. The contest lasted 2.5 months, and it was 20,000 women that entered this contest. It was a worldwide Maxim Cover Girl contest. Okay. So there's women from all over the world, and the 20,000 women were divided into categories of 100 women. And basically every week there was another round. So the contestant that got first place out of every round was able to move on to the following round. Right. So at the beginning, each round was divided into groups of 100 women. So the first week, out of the group of 100 women, I came in first place.
Wow.
And then the second week, it became a group of 75 women. So whoever got first place out of the 75 women moved on to the other round. From there, it became 50 women to 40 to 30 to 20 to the top 10. And then whoever came in, first place out of the top 10 got the cover for Maxim. Wow. And I made it all the way to the end. Maxim magazine works with Wounded Warriors, which is an organization that provides housing for veterans that have become disabled. Mm-hmm. So they basically raise funds to build, homes for people that are in wheelchairs and have lost arms and things like that. So part of the contest was that if you were able to raise money, for every dollar that you raised, you would also get a point.
Wow.
Right. So it wasn't just collecting votes.
Right.
And I mean, I worked my ass off sending out my Vote For Me link. I mean, to everybody and anybody you can imagine. Part of my strategy, because, I was born to be a winner. I was not going to lose. And you're competing with, 20-year-old models. You're competing with influencers that have, 1 million followers. You're competing with a lot of people. So I had to come up with a strategy as to how I was going to make it to the end. So, the first thing you do is I call all my rich Jewish friends, and I'm like, I need your money. Please start, vote for me, make donations. I actually even hired a task force in India.
What?
Yeah, I hired about 100 Indians, and these Indians every day would send out my link of my Vote For Me link for Maxim to men all over, pretending to be me, men that I would tell them, okay, go to the Maxim Instagram page, and all the followers that, all the men that follow Maxim, send them a message from me, from Lucy, asking them to vote for me. Go to the Playboy magazine, Instagram page, ask them to vote for me. So every day I would get a report that thousands of people were getting, my link, and they will vote for me. So that went on for 2.5 months, plus all the votes that I got. In the end of the contest, I raised about $350,000, which, was pretty impressive.
Absolutely.
And then votes, I can't even tell you how many. I got over 1 million something votes from all my friends. I went into a lot of different Facebook groups. I did raffles. I went on the radio. I called everybody and anybody that I knew. I did interviews here in Colombia. I did interviews in the US. I did interviews on the radio. I came out on the paper in Costa Rica. So I had different countries at the same time working for me, So, once I made it to the end of the contest, amazing. Got the cover. They flew me to Vegas, and they took care of everything. It was such an amazing experience. I remember just getting off the plane, and I have like the driver, with like my name on an iPad and like in a limo, and I'm like, oh my God. And then, at the time there was a new hotel that just had opened up called Circa. And I get to the hotel, and there's like my picture blown up waiting for me, because part of the photo shoot was in the hotel.
Wow.
And they had like a party at the hotel, and then we went and did the shoot in the desert. So it was a mind-blowing experience. I can't even tell you. I had never even imagined, being a part of this. It was a dream. So I do the cover for Maxim, and then the photographer is a very famous photographer, and he shoots for all the high-end magazines. He shoots for Elle, Vogue, InStyle, Glamour, you name it. Very, very famous. And he and his wife runs a PR agency, and they represent all the models. And he was like, listen, do you have an agent? And I'm like, no, not really. I was the only person that represents me is my attorney, and he was like, no, well, we would love to represent you the way that we work. We get a cut of any job that we give you, and we'll, send out your picture to all our magazines. He's like, being that, you're on the cover of Maxim, it'll be pretty easy for you to get other jobs because you've already been featured as a cover model.
Sense.
So he sent out my picture, and 2 weeks later, he calls me up. And he's like, so we send out, your picture to different publications. And he's like, you did really well with the male magazines, with the men's magazines. He's like, so I have 2 job offers. One was for FH magazine.
Yeah.
And the other one that wants to offer you a cover is Playboy. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm still like, I'll never forget. I was in the car, and I'm like, what do you mean Playboy? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, what do you mean cover? I'm like, and he's like, Playboy, like the cover, like the front. I'm like, the cover? I'm like, are you fucking kidding me right now? Like really? Like Playboy? I'm like, this is like so surreal. Like, who gets a phone call like, oh yeah, Playboy is to feature you? And I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, I was in the process of, like having a baby. So the first things that comes to mind is like, I don't want like to show my tits and ass on camera and then have my pictures of me naked like all over the internet. Like, I'm gonna be a mother, and I don't want my daughter to get bullied when she gets older. Like, haha, like your mom is naked, So I was like, I don't know, I don't want to be naked, And he's like, well, you don't have to be naked anymore. He's like, Playboy gives you 3 options. You can either do completely full nude.
Okay.
You could do semi-nude, which is either showing your breast or your ass or, private part.
Right.
Or you could do lingerie. I was like, I could do lingerie. I don't have to show my private parts. I was like, really? He's like, you could do lingerie. I was like, done. Where do I sign? They sent me the contract. And it was like a month later, we were doing the shoot. Playboy sends you a whole guideline as to how you need to look, your hair, your makeup, like just, whole thing. And the rest is history. After Playboy, I did a spread for Glamour magazine as well, which was also a lot of fun. That was done in California, and it was basically, the same thing. But, once you get into that industry, it was pretty easy for it to take off after that. And it was such an amazing experience because my business blew up.
Wow.
After I did those covers, because it's different, being the owner of a surgery center, of a med spa, being a woman from New York who's an investor, as to now, you know, the owner of the clinic is a Playboy model. She's been featured. I mean,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
gave my business a complete boost, you know.
Yeah.
And then every time I would go to my business, like my clients, you know, were like, oh, can we take a picture? Oh, I want a picture with you.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then this
yeah.
and that, you know, and all of a sudden, anybody and their mother wanted me to go to their parties. My social life completely changed. Now I'm being invited to like galas. I'm being invited to all these social events, and everybody wants to be my friend. And it's really interesting to see all the people that just show up and appear out of the woodworks.
Right.
I found cousins that I never even met. You know, I had people hitting me up on Instagram and Facebook. Oh my God, my friend, I haven't seen you forever. It's like somebody I haven't seen since kindergarten.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like everybody's inviting me to like hang out. I mean, it's surreal to see like the attention that you get from just
That kind of exposure.
that exposure just from, you know, just people you haven't spoken to forever. Everybody wants to be your friend. Everybody all of a sudden knows you. You know, and then there's all the random people that you don't know that are like, you know, hitting you up and calling you and all that.
Yeah.
So it was really fun, I have to say.
I had no idea it took that much work and determination to actually accomplish something like that.
Oh yeah, it wasn't overnight. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of work, investments. It was, I mean, sleepless nights. I mean, all I did was be on my computer, sending out my link, pretending, you know, like to know all these men that I had no idea. I mean, I was like, hey baby, vote for me. You know,
Yeah.
I you know, I was really focused on winning. You know, failure was not an option. Failure is never an option.
That's right.
You know, and you know, I was thinking to myself, I'll be damned if I'm going to let like a 21-year-old win. I was like, no, that can't happen. Lucy, you're smart. I'm like, I bet you a lot of these other girls are not doing the things that I did. So I really just looked at it as like a business project. I was like, okay, I want to get here. How am I going to get here? Like the end goal is for me to be on the cover. That's what I need. How am I going to get there? I need to raise money and I need millions of votes. How am I going to get millions of votes? Like, it's not going to happen just by my circle of friends. That's just not enough.
Yeah.
You know, I need to expand. Like for me, it was like one country isn't enough.
Right.
So I really focused on the countries that I like live in, and thank God I have businesses abroad, so I have a big network, you know, in various cities, and that really just, you know, helped.
Well, speaking of network, I think you're one of the people that I know that has one of the biggest networks, because there's random times that I'm somewhere here in Medellin walking around and I meet your friends, and then suddenly the vibe just changes instantly. Like we're at Costa Rica hanging out, and we're hanging out with I think it was Juan, and then we're just talking, you know, business, and then I mentioned Mike and you, and just accidentally he's like, oh, you know them? Oh, what? And then it just like completely changes. So that's definitely one of the most important parts, right? They say, you know, your network is your net worth. So how has building that, like, what's your go-to for building a strong, powerful network like the one you have?
You know, people ask me that all the time, and I can't really tell you that I have a recipe or a plan. You know, I just think you in general just have to be a good person. You know, I mean, I'm lucky enough to be able to have the ability to travel,
Right.
And you know, wherever it is that I go, I always try to, you know, make friends with everyone. It's pretty easy for me to make friends.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I mean, I guess I don't know. I talk to everyone. It doesn't even matter if it's like, you know, the concierge, the cleaning lady, the guy that opens my door. I make friends with the Uber driver. I mean, I make friends with everybody.
Yeah.
You know, and then one person leads you to another person, and you never know who you're gonna meet. You know, so it's been pretty easy. I mean, I've lived in different cities, and I can say that I have pretty good networks in just different cities, you know, in various continents, and just go out there, you know,
Yeah.
don't be like afraid of talking to people,
Yeah.
you know, have faith and just know that everything's going to be okay. And as long as you have that faith, you have no fear.
Yeah.
And that gives you the ability to just go out. I have no problem, you know, going out, meeting people. I have no problem going out by myself even. You know, whenever I move to a new city, I really try to join as many groups as possible. You know, when I first moved to New York, I knew nobody in New York, and I moved to New York like by myself, and I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So I joined a bunch of meetup groups.
Yeah.
You know, when I moved to Colombia, I got on Bumble. Bumble has a section for friends, not just to meet guys, but like for friends. That's how I met my best friend, Melissa. I met her through Bumble,
Yeah.
you know, and I met a bunch of girls there. I moved to Madrid. same thing. And, and you just meet other people that are nomads that are also traveling around and want to meet people. So I think that, when you put yourself out there, you're going to find that, the world is not a lonely place. There's a lot of people out there that want to meet you as well. So it's just a matter of you going out there and talking to people, and also putting in the time, because friendships, relationships take work. And it's not just relationships with your significant other. You have to put in the work and the time with your friends and with your social circle as well, and I don't mean put in the time by giving them a heart on Instagram or just, forwarding them a reel or something. I mean, take the time to just, send a message and say, hey, I want to see you. Hey, thinking of you. Or just, make sure that you're staying on top of mind and you're constantly staying in contact with people. That way they never forget you.
Yeah.
You have to make sure that you're unforgettable.
Boom. There it is. Yeah, but that's a lot of work, right? A lot of people don't put in the work like that.
A lot of people don't put in the work.
Mm-hmm.
That is very true. And a lot of people tell me, you have so many friends. How many best friends do you have? And I'm like, my best friend circle is like 26 women. And they're like, that's impossible. You can't have 26 best friends. And I'm like, no, it's possible. And they're like, no. I'm like, okay, like my one best friend has been in my life for 36 years. We're still close since we were, like young. I have most of my best friends have been in my life for over 20 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, they are my best friends because they've been in my life for a really long time. And these are women that I constantly, talk to, and we make a point of seeing each other, throughout the year. So, you have to stay in touch. But when you love someone, it's not a lot of work. It's just natural. You want to see the people you love. You want to spend time with them. So what I do is, like, whatever city I'm going to go to, I'm like, okay, it's hard. Like, if I'm going to be in a city for 1 week and I have like 10 people that are like, hey, you're here, I want to see you. I'm like, I can't do individual dates. I'm like, okay, one day at my house, one get together, everybody come over at the same time and just, get it all out at the same time. So yeah, I mean, I think that if the love is there, it's not really work.
That's true. Yeah, if you love what you do, it's not work. And then if you enjoy fostering those relationships, it's gonna just come naturally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's really what it is. Yeah.
Okay, so that's awesome. Now, let's change gears a little bit. What would you say your darkest moment was?
My darkest moment. Oh my God, my darkest moment. Okay, let me think. My darkest moment. In what? Like in life?
In life,
business?
Whatever tops the
my
charts.
darkest moment was the day that I was told by a doctor that I couldn't get pregnant and that I couldn't give life.
Wow.
That was something that, was really hard for me to deal with, because I throughout my life, I never wanted to be a young mother. I was so focused on my career. I was focused on traveling, seeing the world and living my best life and having fun. And being a parent wasn't something that I wanted until after my 40s. After my 40s, like the clock started kicking and I was like, oh my God, I need a kid. I need a family. I didn't feel like I was, a woman. I didn't feel like, I was like, here I am building this empire, having all these businesses. And then like tomorrow I'm going to die. And now who's going to have all this? Like, I don't even have a cat or a dog, like my dog died. So I'm like, who's going to have all this? Like, so I really just didn't feel complete. And, my partner and I were trying to get pregnant and I couldn't get pregnant. And then I went to the doctor and he said, you can't be a mom anymore, because I had thyroids in my tumors basically. And I have to have a surgery and I have to have a hysterectomy. And for a woman to be told that you can't be a mother, it's a very hard pill to swallow. However, I was able to overcome that, because then I said, well, what are my options? Like, what can I do? And I was able to come to Colombia, and my ovaries still worked. So they were able to take the eggs out of my ovaries, but, they would do extractions for my eggs and they were all damaged because of, my condition. So I had to have 11 surgeries in order to take out, by the 11th surgery I had taken out 85 eggs. So we had to do 85 embryos before I got my daughter, because all the embryos were all sick. So it was really hard, because I had to go through 2 years of a lot of hormone therapy, 297 injections that I had to put myself, every day, for the hormones. And once, we were able to get a healthy embryo, I had to get a surrogate. So I hired a woman to basically rent her uterus so that I can implement my healthy embryo. And that's how I was able to have my daughter. I had her through a surrogate. So in the end, I had my baby, everything worked out. So I was able to overcome that dark moment.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Is anything that you do easy, or does everything have to be really
Oh no,
challenging?
everything's a story. Everything is challenging. Everything's
Yeah.
a movie. I'm already on season 20.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. There's part 1, part 2, part 3. Everything is I'm not gonna say it's a challenge. I just say, God throw things at you, but he throws things to the people that are capable of handling them. And I can sit here now and I can be a voice for a lot of women. I've done multiple interviews. I've done, multiple talks, presentations with just women and radio and magazines and people that want to interview me and talk to me about the whole surrogacy. And I've helped a lot of women that didn't even think that was possible, and in the end, I feel that, everything happens for a reason. So it's okay.
No, that's incredible. So let's see. So if all these things are happening to you, right? I mean, I always look at, when I'm going through challenges, going through hard times, I always think, who, not how. So who would you say was the biggest either mentor, coach, or influence in your life?
My biggest mentor, coach in my life. Well, it's hard for me to say that I had a mentor or a coach because I grew up pretty lonely. Like I told you, my mother worked really late.
Yeah.
She was a hairdresser, a single mom, trying to, raise, her one daughter. My mother would get home from work around 10 o'clock at night, and I wouldn't spend any time with her because by the time she got home, I'd have to go to bed. My mother didn't cook at all. So I grew up eating fast food, which I hated. So, because of that, I learned how to cook, and I'm a great chef. I actually had a catering business in New York for about 6-7 years until, we moved and decided to move into another, I decided to move into another industry. But, so I could say my mother was my mentor, but not really. I think she was my mentor in a way that she taught me, she showed me what I didn't want to be.
Interesting.
So
Yeah.
because she didn't cook, I learned to cook. Because she had to work for somebody else, I learned to be an entrepreneur. Because I was raised being by myself most of my time, I learned that I didn't want to be by myself. So I learned to talk to people because I didn't want to be alone. So I'm very
Wow.
sociable because of that. So I would have to say my mother, she taught me a lot of her mistakes.
Mhm.
So I learned from her mistakes.
Wow, that's beautiful. In a way, that's really beautiful. Because you really have a knack for turning things around.
Yeah, of course. There's always a solution. I always tell my staff, failure is not an option. If somebody comes to me to tell me we have a problem, before you tell me the problem, tell me the solution. I don't want to hear we have a problem. I believe that there is a solution for everything except for death. I mean, once that happens, and even then, you cross over, that's a whole other conversation. But
Right.
I do believe that, there is a positive side to everything. I have to believe that, because if I don't, I would be right now, a drug addict, depressed. God knows where I would be right now,
Yeah.
with everything that happens. A lot of people are very weak-minded, and they allow, their negative thoughts to control and run their life. And that's the worst thing that you can do. So you have to try to see the positive side and everything, and know that, there's something better, know that there's a tomorrow. And that's the only thing that gets me by, and it's worked so far. So I'm sticking with it.
Yeah. No, I love it. We're talking about it a little bit earlier too. Biggest mistake, but I know with you, it's never a mistake. It's lesson.
It's never a mistake. I feel that everything that has happened to me in my life, I am thankful for that. Even the people, I've had a lot of businesses and I travel around. So a lot of times, I'm not able to be there taking care of the business myself because I'm away. I've had people in the past that have stolen. And these are, people that have had management roles, people that were really close to me. And at the time, I probably, was really upset, really angry, and I couldn't believe these things were happening. Now in retrospect, I look back and I'm thankful for all these things that happened because they taught me how to, be better.
Yeah.
They taught me how to, create solutions so these problems will never happen again. They taught me how to create systems and a better infrastructure in my business so that I wouldn't make these mistakes again. So everything that has happened has been for a reason. Even the things that at the time I'm not able to understand why, now something bad happens, I breathe and I just, say to myself, it's okay. This is happening for a reason. I may not know what the reason is right now. I may not know next year, but eventually I will look back and I will understand why it is that happened. So yeah, I don't believe in mistakes or anything like that. I believe that everything is perfect. God is perfect. We're here on this earth for a reason. We're having this conversation for a reason. And had I not gone through any of those things, I wouldn't be sitting here with you today having this conversation. So yeah, everything is a lesson.
Yeah. No, I love that. Let's talk about New Image Center. How did you start that? What makes it different? What made you even want to go into something like that? Because that's a big undertaking.
Yeah, especially that I'm not a surgeon, and I can sit here and say I own a surgery center and a med spa, and I love it. It's very exciting. I'm actually celebrating my 10th year. My 10th year is coming up. So that's huge because it's not easy to be able to start a surgery center, not knowing anything about medicine. My background, like I said, was in real estate. I learned a lot after the recession.
Mm-hmm.
When the recession hit, it was a pretty scary moment. I lost everything. I, was getting my home foreclosed. I lost, all my investors. It was really, really difficult time. And I had to get out of real estate for a few years. And kind of, try to figure out what it is that I was going to do. So I knew that I wanted to have another source of income. I didn't want to have my eggs all in one basket.
Yeah.
You just can't depend on one industry. The world is a crazy place. Like you never know what's going to happen. And I never thought that real estate would go so bad. I never thought the stock market would crash. I never, thought that I was going to lose so much money. So I was always looking for different, ventures, that I can get involved with. Or at one point I had a clothing store, then I had a lash bar. I had, I had the catering business. I mean, I've always, tried different things, and I had the opportunity to meet a surgeon that I became really close with, and I started just learning about his business, and I saw the potential, the amount of money that they made. And my clinic is in Costa Rica.
Yeah.
And in Costa Rica, I started doing some research, and I saw that there weren't really any surgery centers and med spas that catered to like high-end clientele. And I said, this is necessary, because every time I would travel, I'm like, I need to get my Botox. Or if I'm traveling and I got to do this, I got to do that. And the places that I would go to just weren't really that nice. And at the time I had just, come from living in New York for 15 years. So being in Manhattan, I mean, you got everything. You're the creme de la creme, you're at the top, the best of the best. Like, so then going to these places, I was like, wow, there's something missing here. So I really felt like there was a need for something really nice, So I just started, studying the market, and this doctor was like, hey, let's open up a clinic together. So I had money saved up from all, my real estate investments, and I said, okay, let's do it. And I started building the space, right? And because I was in real estate, and, I did a lot of short-term rentals, I also decorated all the houses for many, many years. So I also took a lot of courses in interior design. So I decided that I was going to design the whole clinic. And 3 months into, me investing all this money, I'm already at like 300 grand, something like that. The doctor was supposed to put in money, and he tells me that he doesn't have any money to put in, but he still wants to be my partner. And I was like, I'm not going to give you a partnership if you're not putting any money. Like, this business is going to cost a significant amount of money. I'm not just going to give you 50%. Like, I'm not going to do that, while I'm the one that's putting in all the capital. I was like, no, if you're not putting in all the money, then I'm going to be 100% owner. And then we ended up, having a huge discussion, and I didn't feel comfortable with him. And I decided I was going to open up the business by myself, which was a huge risk because I had no idea what I was doing. I know business. And I know as a woman what I want to see when I go to a spa and a surgery center. I know what I want it to look like. I had an idea and a vision in my mind. So I just decided to hire, a company to help me find doctors. I hired, a consulting firm to come in and help me design my OR, which has to meet certain guidelines in order for you to get permits with the health department. So that was a bit challenging. But I just decided to do all the research and make sure that I had a good team in place. And I built a center. And I made sure I had enough money in reserves for the first 2 years because I believe that when you're going to open up a business, you can't just open it and expect to have clients and money come in the first day.
Instantly, right?
It doesn't work like that. You need to make sure that you have enough funds, to cover your business for 2 years. Like some people open up a business and they have money only for the first 3 months or 6 months.
Yeah.
And what if that runs out and you don't get any business and you have to close shop?
Yeah.
So you can't do that. So I was ready and prepared to support my business for 2 years, which is honestly like what it took for me to build it. And for it to become profitable, it took some years because I was competing with other clinics and other doctors that were very known in the country. So I was like, well, what is going to make the difference with mine? So, mine is a boutique style med spa, very, very chic. The interior design is very sophisticated, very glam. One of the advantages that, a patient has when they come into my clinic is that because I'm not a doctor is an advantage. Because if I see a doctor that is working, that is not, doing the procedures right, and something's not working the right way, I just fire them and then I'll just hire another doctor, whereas when you go to a clinic and it's just the same doctor, like that's the doctor that's going to stay there,
you don't got a choice.
And you don't have a choice. So I've had to fire actually a lot of doctors because they haven't done really good work. So now my practice has, a very good reputation because they know that the doctors that I have are top quality. And, I made a point of making sure that I had really good equipment. All my equipment was brought in from Europe, from Israel. Like it's very good, high quality machines, which is very important. A lot of places don't really worry about that. They'll just buy whatever Asian, Chinese brands, which is just not the same. So I focus a lot on quality, and because I've traveled all over the world, I'm able to see what a lot of other countries are doing. So I'm always coming up with, new products that I'm bringing in, new treatments that are not really available in Costa Rica and I have access to because of my travels. So, my clients like that because it does, stand out a little bit from the competition.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting. And, I think we had one conversation about this one time. You have a very interesting way of marketing this as well. You have like these Instagram girls that have like millions of followers that are actively showcasing like the real experience that you have, rather than what some people do. That they just run ads, hope for the best. Somebody comes in, you take the sales call, and there you go. You have actual people out there that are marketing your product saying, hey, I've done this here.
Yeah, well, so something that I did when I opened up my practice is that I reached out to the Miss Universe Costa Rica beauty pageant. So I sponsored Miss Universe Costa Rica.
Okay.
I'm actually going to Miss Universe in Thailand this November, which is very exciting. I have a really good relationship with the Miss Universe organization. So I had in my clinic, I've had probably, 10 of the Miss Universe Costa Rica winners, representing my brand.
Yeah.
Which that is, that's pretty huge. And obviously influencers are, a very good way to market your brand. So I do have some pretty good models as well that are pretty known in the States. They'll do work for Fashion Nova and, big brands like that also rep, my clinic.
Yeah.
So that has, also helped out a lot. I also own a few Facebook groups that are just women. I have a group called Style and Glamour, and I have 40,000 women that are just from Costa Rica, just from my local market.
Yeah.
It's just one of my groups where I'm constantly advertising. So a lot of the women in that group are my patients as well. So I do have a lot of different sources of marketing, my product. So
So you're not only an entrepreneur, but you also seem to be an expert marketer. You really know how to get the message out there for whatever it is that you need.
yeah, I mean, many years of, attempting different businesses and trying different things, they teach you a few things. And I love taking risks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm never afraid of anything. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. You tried it, you move on. The biggest thing for me is I don't want to live in regret.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not afraid of trying, new things.
Yeah.
So why not?
I love it. I love that. Speaking of Costa Rica, you also have a charity there, right?
I do. I have a foundation. I have a nonprofit. I'm actually celebrating my 10th year. I just celebrated this coming year. Actually, we're celebrating 11 years. It's called United Hearts. I have about 1,000 kids in my nonprofit, and basically we help them with their school supplies, their uniforms when they go back to school, because these families are living in extreme poverty. A lot of these families don't even have electricity.
Yeah.
These are kids that, are immigrants that are from other countries. Some of them live literally like in the mountains. I mean, they're very, very poor. They don't have, sometimes they don't even have food. So we provide food, clothing, medical care. I mean, I've had to turn on, electric bills, pay for, surgeries. We do a yearly holiday party, and I give them all their Christmas gifts, and I do their holiday dinner, and Santa comes in, and we do blow up bouncy houses and cotton candy. It's like a whole big thing. And now I have the support from the municipality. So they'll bring in a marching band, and they'll donate some things. I have Procter and Gamble that will donate some care kits, and we do this throughout the year. I donate a part of my income from my clinic for the charity, and that is a must. I do believe in paying it forward.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that I was blessed with abundance because God wants me to share and help others. And for me, that is success, being able to help these kids. And for these kids, I'm their aunt. Whenever I come, into the village and I'm doing an event, and they all run to me and hug me, and they're like, "Oh, Aunt Lucy's here. And what are you going to give us this year?" And they're so happy. And I can't even tell you, like, the look on their face, like when I give them a book bag with all their school supplies, how happy they are that now they can go to school. And I remember when I was little, I mean, I guess, we were just spoiled. I mean, I got a book bag. It was fun to have really cool, notebooks, and I was just happy with that. But these kids are just grateful. They're like, "Thank you," and that just melts my heart.
No, absolutely. I truly believe in that. I feel like, a portion of what you make should be given away. And I think that puts you in that abundance. And I truly agree. I mean, God gives to those who give to others. Mm-hmm. Right? Because you are a servant in a way. Mm-hmm. And that's the best way to accept and give out blessings as well. A rapid fire round. I want to ask you a bunch of questions. What's a book that changed your life?
A book that changed my life? The Bible.
The Bible?
The Bible.
Wow.
It's a guide.
It's the first time we got that one.
Wow.
Amazing. What would 18-year-old you say about you now?
I'm proud of you.
Beautiful. Biggest red flag in a person?
Their energy. Sometimes you meet somebody, and just by saying hello, or just by the way their body language, just by the way they look at you, you feel this negative, this tension. Sometimes I'm very much into spirituality and energy. And if I'm not feeling the energy, like, we're not going to be friends. I stay away from negative energy. I like to protect my energy. I want to be surrounded by positive people. I want to be surrounded by people that have light. And that's what I need. So I gotta be careful with that.
Hear you there. Best money you ever spent?
Having my daughter, paying for the surrogate.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And Billy's amazing growing up right now.
Isn't
So
she?
Fast.
I know. She's beautiful and precious and
God.
so smart and sassy.
Yeah. I wonder where she gets it from. I don't know. One belief you changed your mind on recently?
One belief I changed my mind on recently. Wow, that's hard because You got me there because I'm pretty hard-headed. Whenever I think that, I'm the kind of person that I'm always right, and then this is how I want it to be.
Yeah.
So I think probably that, I think I'm really trying to learn to listen, and not, think that I'm always right. Because of my experiences and being like the boss and an entrepreneur, it's, sometimes for me, it was hard, I guess, to listen to what other people were saying, because I was like, no, I mean, you have to do like, what I'm saying, this and that. This is I know what's right. And having that kind of a mindset. And I've learned, that it's not the case, that I'm not always right, and that's taken many, many years for me to understand, because of my, type A personality, very strong, dominant. I've come to, realize that sometimes I need to just take a step back and really analyze and not be impulsive and breathe and think twice about things.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. That is definitely an important one. And I know that especially in the entrepreneurial world, when you are responsible for everything, it's very hard to listen to somebody else who's not responsible for the outcome and say, yeah, I'm going to do what you say. It's very hard to come to that. It takes a lot of, I think, patience and experience of, okay, well, if I fail 3 times in a row, maybe somebody else has the answer.
Yeah, I think the definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over and expecting a different result, So I've tried to now sometimes just say, okay, that's not working. I definitely got to change it. Let me really think about this. Maybe they're right,
I love it. If you had 60 seconds to leave a message for the world, what would it be?
I would say my message would be to have faith. When you have faith, there's no fear at all. And whatever it is that you're going to do, I say to believe in yourself, because nobody else is going to do it for you. Wake up every day and be thankful for breathing. Be thankful for your hands. Be thankful for your eyes, because they're allowing you to see what a beautiful world we live in. Be thankful for your mouth, for your tongue that allows you to taste. Be thankful for your ears that allow you to listen. And just be thankful to have your legs to be able to walk, to be healthy, and just be thankful just for everything that you have, for every moment, for what you're eating, for light, for life. Just be thankful.
Be thankful. Gratitude. I love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Lucy, thank you so much. How can people get in touch with you?
Lucyland NYC is my Instagram. You can find me there.
Cool. And New Image Center?
New Image Center _ Instagram as well.
Okay. Amazing. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Namaste.
Thank you, guys. Awesome. Good work.
Great. Thank you.
Wild, right? I mean, from the outside, you'd see Lucy and you'd think it was all glam and good times. But hearing what she actually went through, it's a reminder that reinvention isn't always pretty. But damn, it's real. She showed her past, she faced the ugly, and now she's building something way deeper than what she left behind. That takes guts. And if you felt something listening to this, share it. Someone out there probably needs to hear it too. Until next time, this is Nemology.